Welcome back. I'm John Cole Morgan. Welcome to my podcast this week. We've got the wonderful Sylvia Priest. Sylvia, welcome.
Hello, John. Thank you for inviting me.
It's lovely to have you. Now, tell me, how on earth did you get into crafting and quilting?
Oh, this is a long story, so I hope you've got plenty of time. I've
Plenty.
been sewing since I was at school. I actually learned to sew on an old-fashioned Singer treadle, which is all they had at the school at the time. And then we started using Bonina machines, but this wasn't for quilting, this was for dressmaking. So I started life as a dressmaker. My mother made all my dresses. And I made mine as well when I was younger. I even made a suit once. I wouldn't do that now. But there was a long hiatus when I did very little sewing, married, built a home, had children, the same sort of story most people would say, and I never had any time. I've always worked for myself. And then my grandchild was born, my first grandchild. I have 4 now, I have 2 children.
Congratulations.
My daughter's not going to let me tell you how old she is because she'll probably shoot me. But my eldest grandson, George, is now 7. And when he was born, I asked my best friend if she would make a quilt for me. Now, Jeannie and I are known to be a couple in terms of friendship since we were 12. We've been close friends ever since we met.
So it's just a phase then, really, isn't it, at that point?
Yes, we've been through thick and thin together, without a doubt, supported each other through good times and bad. Been to many quilt exhibitions now together. But back then I went to her and said, I want a baby quilt for George. And she said, well, make one. I said, I don't know how to make a quilt. She said, right, come on. Off we went to the shop, we bought the fabric and I made my first quilt. I should have brought that to show you really, but George has it on his bed and he won't let it go. So he
that's so special.
Oh, very, very much. I make a lot of quilts now. I have 4 grandchildren, George and Chloe, his sister, who's 5. And then there's William, who's 4, which is my son's lad. And Arthur, who's only 18 months, but each of them, no, he's only 14 months, better get that right. But each of them have their own quilts, more than one quilt in most cases.
That is very, very special. And all of them from you?
Yes. Grandma loves making quilts.
Oh.
In fact, people avoid me a lot now because I might say, would you like a quilt? And I think everybody I know owns one of my quilts. So
that's very special. And are they all loved and used as well?
Oh, I love nothing better than seeing my quilts being used. My neighbour who came earlier is getting a new suite, 3-piece suite, and actually knocked on the door and said, I need a new quilt, how are you fixed? I love that.
Oh, that's wonderful. So that's repeat business for you as well.
Well, I don't sell them, I give them away, but yes.
No, that's which makes it even better that they keep coming back for them. Oh, that's wonderful.
I've brought some of my quilts to show off.
Oh, good.
It's something better. What you need to understand, I'm a hobbyist. This is my passion, but it's my hobby. None of these are exhibition level or anything. I quilt because I enjoy it. It keeps my brain occupied when I'm at work, when I've finished work. Because work is quite stressful sometimes, and it's nice to just go and sit in front of my machine. I'll cut some fabric out. I'm more of a patchworker than a quilter, or at least I used to be until I got my long arm machine. But
you have a long arm as well. Oh my
yes.
God, I can't wait.
Yeah, but I have to say, I'm not very good. But
I feel like you're leading towards telling us that your quilts aren't very good.
Well, I think they are, but I wouldn't put them in an exhibition. I'm proud of what I make. I enjoy them. So this was probably the one here. I don't know if you can see it. This was a half square triangle in some of my favourite colours, red and grey. Moda, I can't remember the actual pattern of it. And some of it's Macawa mixed in. I think that's Macawa. And that was one of the very first ones I made. And that keeps me warm on cold winter nights when I'm down in my sewing shed. It gets pretty chilly down there sometimes. That sits on the back of my chair. But if I'm thinking about my actual quilting journey, a lot has happened, and a lot of people maybe know me as Sylvia from the website, the
Yes.
ukqu.co.uk. But how that came about is an even different, longer story, I suppose. And I've known Juliet Nice, who is the one of the founders of UK Quilters United, the Facebook group, almost from the very beginning. I was one of the early adopters. I think it was about 800 members when I first joined. There's now about 23 members, something like that. 23,000 members.
That's mad, because it hasn't been going that long, has it?
I think it's about 8 years.
Yes.
I'm not 100% sure. There's just been an anniversary. I should know this. I'm one of the moderators on there. But time just passes me by. Whatever happens.
Well, I think the last 2 years specifically, that's just blurred everybody's lives, hasn't it?
I think it's kind of missed out of my psyche altogether. I've had my own business, which a lot of people don't know, which is why we built the website, because it's a software design website company and also a filming company. We have a green screen studio that we deploy quite regularly. In fact, we filmed in there recently for Clover with Stuart Hillard, lovely guy. But that takes up most of my time. But at weekends, I need to empty my brain, and that's why I sew. So Julia had always had a dream of having the website, so she persuaded me to build it, which we did 3-4 years ago now, and it's gone from strength to strength.
And what I love is that you always adapt it and you change it, and then there's a little tweak, and someone makes a suggestion, and then Sylvia's in there and fixes it. Because you do all the blogs as well, and I'm lucky enough to be able to be one of your bloggers. Not that I do as much as many others do, but you've got an incredible task there.
It takes up a lot of time, and sometimes I just leave it to its own devices, I must admit. I'm constantly chasing people to blog, so if anybody wants to get in touch, then please do. And we need
she doesn't nag much, I promise. She really doesn't.
I need to see, it's not for me, because I don't make any money. This is a voluntary site. It's there. The reason that was set up was because personally, I'm a massive advocate of the UK quilt shops, whether bricks and mortar or whether online, because without that, we don't have a sector. We can't produce the quilts we want to. And I was fed up with seeing people going off to the American places, Craftsy or whatever they're called now. So that's why Juliet and I came up with the idea. And I persuaded my business partner, Robin, to build the site for us. Now we manage that. It helps itself mostly. We've just introduced, during the Christmas event, online tutoring. So video tutoring and such like. That's when we find time, because work's really taking off again at the moment. We plan to incorporate that into the main site. We're sponsored by Janome, which we're really happy about. We get on very well with Janome, they're fantastic. But we get a lot of support from all the shops, and Macawa have been brilliant over the years. The marketing lady from Groves and Vlasalin is constantly supplying work for the bloggers to be able to review. And we're creating, not viral, but we're creating personalities. Carol Barlow, one of a good friend of mine, is now doing a lot of work with Vlasalin, designing and being featured, which is fantastic. I mean, these people, these situations, opportunities wouldn't exist otherwise, because the UK was getting missed over. We need you to do some designing for us, John.
Honestly, I'll do it with pleasure. But you struck on a very interesting thing there about the bricks and mortar shop versus the online shops as well. I'm a tiny shop. I'm 500 square feet. I've probably got 1,000 bolts of fabric. So it's a really, really small shop, but it costs £2,200 a month just to keep going.
Wow.
Which means you're looking at selling £5,000-6,000 worth of fabric a month just to pay your bills. Absolutely. And it's very hard. I had a customer in last week who, and I'll try and say this with a smile on my face. They come in and they open the books and look at it, and they'd scan it and look at the prices on Amazon. And I'm like, oh, you're £6 more expensive than Amazon. I'm buying it on Amazon.
Absolutely.
It's really hard to keep shops going.
Well, this is the point. I mean, we hear people saying, oh, where's the nearest quilt shop? But then they're saying, well, it's so expensive. It isn't. People need to realise. We costed out, because Jeannie and I, my mate, we started up a local sewing group. And people started talking about, well, what can we make? What can we do? How can we expand this? And we have 2 local quilt shops in the area. That's all that we can visit, plus Boys and Hobbycraft and such like. Although Craft Cotton Company, you can generally purchase their stuff, which is reasonable. But it's the smaller craft quilt shops like yourself that I think need that promotion, need that action to survive. That's one day we're going to turn around, because I'm not only a quilter, I'm a fabric hoarder, and just don't tell my husband how much.
I firmly believe that fabric curatorship and quilting are 2 very different hobbies. I have a double garage full of my hobby, and I quilt at the house. Yeah. Very different.
I have a pile of fabric. I'm everybody likes these buzzwords. I'm destashing a little bit at the moment, because we have our sewing group started, I don't know, probably 5 years ago, around the fact that we went to join a local sewing group, and they were a little bit snooty and said, well, you'll have to go on the list to join the list to come along. So we said, well, we haven't got time for that. We want to do it now. So we started our Quilty Pleasures, and we meet now in our local village hall, which is 2 minutes walk from where I live. So it's perfect.
Wonderful.
We meet once a month, and we're all hobby sewers. We've got probably about 23 members. But it's very small, and on an average group meeting, there'll be about 12 of us turn up, and we have, I won't say gossip, but it probably is. And we sit and sew, we do a bit of hand sewing, we help each other. But a couple of years back, I know Maggie Lloyd-Jones very well, who runs Quilts for Care Leavers. And I was kind of in at the beginning of that, because the bloggers, as you probably know, meet annually on retreat, usually about November, and Maggie came to one. And we kind of hatched the plan, and she took it forward for for Q4CL. I stepped back because I just don't have enough time in my busy life to fit everything in. But as part of our local sewing group, social services approached one of our members and asked if we'd be willing to support the locals with quilts, and we said, yeah, why not? So now we've evolved this into one person each month collects 12 quilt blocks and makes 1 quilt. And at the end of the year, we make extra ones ourselves when we've nothing better to do, which is quite often. And we usually manage to offer around 22 quilts a year to our local care leavers. We also donate to the hospice. One of our members unfortunately lost her husband, so we support that. And one of my neighbours works on the local baby NICU, so we make tiny little hearts and things. It's just using up scraps mostly. And we also do fiddle quilts, fidget quilts. We just all join together.
That's what I love, the spirit of quilters. It's so, you're always giving out and you're always giving away. And as you say, you're using up your scraps. We haven't touched the hoard. I mean, curatorship. We haven't touched that section yet. It's just the bits left over from the bits, left over from the bits, left over from the bits.
They're busy sat down in my shed breeding at the moment, because I know full well when I go down there, there'll be so many more. Where do they all come from? And I'm constantly giving them away to people, saying, can you do something with this? Can you do something? My scraps are very tiny because I use every last inch. I'm very frugal with my quilting.
Well, I do a lot of FPP, and some of my smallest block is a 10-inch block, which has got 408 pieces.
Oh my word.
10-inch block. So
I thought
I
the one I'm doing
completely with your little bits.
I thought the one that I'm doing at the moment with 72 pieces in just a pieced block, not an FPP, was enough. I'm making it up as I go along. I very rarely follow a pattern.
Love.
Which, I mean, let's face it, most quilt blocks, this one here that I've got at the back of me, no, I've taken it off, it's on the floor. This one here is one that I've created through looking at patterns online and picking out the patterns that I liked. It's Moda, my passion. Moda, well, not Moda, but William Morris. I love it. So this is 12 pieces. Where this started was, I think, that block, which somebody said, let's do a sampler for the group.
Brilliant.
But one that we keep ourselves, we don't give away. So I said, okay. So I made the first 2 and I thought this is going to be too slow because we're doing 1 a month. So I went out and found my own blocks. I'm a bit of an anarchist sometimes. But all these, when you look at a piece block, look at the ones behind you, they're mainly squares and triangles in different combinations. So you very quickly get, with any practice, to be able to identify which bits need to go where. So if you play around with them long enough, you'll find a pattern. And if you look anywhere online, somebody will have given it a name.
Exactly.
Ohio Star, or some of them have fantastic names, don't they? I'm not sure on Monkey Wrench. I don't think that appeals to me. But I've only ever made 1 finished quilt to a pattern.
Really? And
that was designed by a very good friend of mine. Well, actually 2. One's half done, and I don't think I've got that here. A very good friend of mine, Abby Stirl, who is down in Cornwall, produced the very first block of the month mystery quilt for the UKQ website. It was her own design, and I just fell in love with it. I don't do rules very much. I don't follow patterns very much, but this just is superb. If I can show you just a small part of it. She calls it colourful. It's on the website. It's still available. And this is the one. If you can. So it's a mix, a massive amount of technique involved. Spargello, which I hate. There's piecing, there's hand embroidery in it. There's a little piece there. But each one is what Abby calls a design development. So she sets the pattern. It's the one and only time I've ever bought a kit, and I sewed it together, and I love it. It was actually quilted by Sarah Wickett, who's Ambleside Quilting down in, I think she's on Dartmoor. She has a farm on Dartmoor, and she has her own long arm business. So I sent it down to her, and she kindly quilted it for me. So it was far too big for my Sweet 16, Simply 16, S16. But yeah, I love that quilt, and it sits with me down in my shed as well.
Love it. And it's just the joy you have of talking about it. It's wonderful. And I love it. What did she call it? A design development.
That's it.
Love
we
that.
Don't make mistakes.
It's a design
Abby
development.
Says we make design developments.
We need to make that a thing.
In fact, the quilt, none of the embroidery sections are actually as she designed them. And if
you've got to go rogue, Sylvia.
Exactly. But my friend Jeannie, she created her own version. She bought the pattern, but not the fabric, made all hers in batik.
Oh.
And it looks amazing. But I haven't got it to show you, unfortunately. Far better quilter than I am, without a doubt. The other one that I wanted to show you, if I can find it, is this one. Jeannie and I have done everything through life together, and we wanted to make a joint quilt. And I absolutely adore Storm at Sea, which I've had the template for years. Cut one out once and discovered I'd cut half of it the wrong size, so used the scraps for something else. You do these things. But she said, right, I will do the Storm at Sea, because I said I would never do it. And she made me make the Mariner's Compass that we put together, and it's here. And it lives at my house. We were going to share it. I'm just trying to find the compass. There it is. So this was the very first thing I quilted on my long arm machine properly. So I made the compass in the usual manner. She's made all the blocks, and all her points are very pointy, which is very important. Should always try for pointy points. We edged it. The fabric, I think, is a mixture of stuff, Macawa and Moda, with a bit of grunge to just block it in. I love red and blue together. My favourite colours.
But your design of colour there is so good. The way that that's all come out, it's gorgeous.
And we quilted it, or I quilted it on my machine very loosely. Jeannie doesn't like heavy quilting. So I quilted it in waves. And then around The mariner's compass is all the water bubbles.
It's beautiful. I love the fact that Jeannie had a say in all the quilting and she never gets to use it.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, it's thrown
Now,
it down.
talk to me about the one that's on the back of your chair with the bees and the flowers. That's a gorgeous mode of print. I love that fabric.
Oh, I guess I do. This is actually, everybody has to have a log cabin.
Oh, lovely.
So my log cabin sits there. I have it turned in, sometimes turned out. But yeah, that very addictive to make, aren't they, if you've ever made one. So that's my log cabin. You can see some of the quilting for it. I used, I think they call them mussels, the mussel shape, or it's just an edge to edge. I don't do custom quilting very well. I'm learning. And I'm coming
well, it is all quilting. It's just learning. It just takes time. So you've got a handy quilter as well?
Yes.
Good old Liz and Pete looking after us.
Second hand though. It was, I bought it from Graham in Leeds, Graham Farcorner, I think it is. He was upgrading and it was a conversation at Harrogate's show one year, about 3 years ago, I think. And Liz Holpin said, oh, I know somebody who's selling one. Go and talk to him. So I did and brought it home with me.
Brilliant. Nothing wrong with that?
I get very little time to use it though, so maybe one day when I retire properly.
Well, are you ever going to retire? Because obviously your business sounds really exciting. You were saying about recording on a green screen. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, well, my business has started in 2005 when my business partner rang me and said, would I go and work for him? By the time we hatched a plan, we opened the business in partnership. We're now a limited company. Resolution Television Limited is our official name, but we trade as Resolution because people kept asking us if we fix TVs. No, we don't. So we originally were producing, the very first couple of films we made were on VHS. It's that long ago, but then we evolved the business to where we are today, and we're now one of the leading producers of online health and safety induction systems. Really boring stuff, but it pays the bills.
And I'm sorry, I have to do it. Health and safety never has a day off.
No, it's not even funny.
But it kind of is, just a little bit.
Yeah, well, yeah. But I mean, some of that, I can't really say a great deal about my clients because we're on non-disclosure agreements with the majority of them. Some of it's the MOD, some of it's public sector. But we also train the fire services of the UK in CPD, and I'm not sure what that stands for because I can never remember. But it's refresher courses for them. Career
development plans, isn't it?
Yes, that's it.
But I think many ladies' interests have just been piqued with, sorry, you train firemen?
Well, no, don't.
The fireman calendars, everywhere I go, I see a fireman's calendar with these lovely ladies. And it's always the quiet ones.
Yeah, there are one or two, but not the ones I usually get to work with.
So the green screens, you were saying, like with Stuart, how does it work?
Well, if you go in wearing green, that colour keys out, so you can't see green. So if you went in a green suit, we actually have what we call the Kermit suit, so we can actually do hands and face, which is a bit weird. So we have the green screen studio is one side of the wall. It's quite a large one. We have 3 studio cameras, auto cue facility, full lighting. We've even got a wind machine if we ever needed to use it. On the whole, we're interviewing or recording presenters. It's not a TV studio. It's a green screen studio, which we use to record presenters for our main work. On the other side of the wall is what we term our gallery, which is where all the editing goes on. We have done live broadcasts. I'm actually talking to a well-known supplier in our sector about an event, but I can't tell you any more about that at the moment. It will become apparent if it happens, and they've gone away to work on some plans. But we worked last year with Clover, who create probably to me, the best piece of equipment in the world, which is their Hera marker. We're here.
My favorite tool in the entire world is my Clover unpicker. I think this has got to be the best unpicker in the history of the world. Sorry.
They're not the least costly. They're not the most, but they're not overly expensive, but they're quality work. The things that I deal with.
You see, the thing for me, it's not about how much it costs. It's about the fact when I pick it up and I use it, is it going to work? And we've all bought the 99p unpicker at the thing, and you've literally pulling the pieces out by your fingernails to try and get it to work. So they may be slightly more expensive, but the quality is fantastic. I love the products.
What the hero marker, the reason I like that is you don't need to find a pen. It's always in my sewing box. And literally, if you're doing half square triangles, you need to mark the diagonal. You can do that. I have a felt panel next to my sewing machine. It's always sat there. I can mark that out. I can zip up and down the 1/4 inch either side. There's no ink marks. And that's what I use it for mostly.
And it just presses out when you're finished. It's brilliant.
Absolutely. It's brilliant. I've not used it in quilting. Not yet, anyway. I'm only doing just swinging a long arm about, basically.
Well, if you ever did want to get onto your custom quilting, you're very good at being able to circular them out and use the edge of your hero to mark things out. That works really well.
I shall have to remember that, yeah. I mean, my main sewing machine for piecing, I use a Janome 8200, lovely 11-inch throat. I don't know how many individual stitches it's got, but I probably use one of them, which is the straight stitch.
I've got the 1600 and I've just upgraded now to the HD9 because it's a straight stitch, and for me it's the speed. 1600 stitches in 1 minute. It's brilliant.
Absolutely, yeah. It's the one thing I wanted to get, but I cannot warrant spending it, is the Sashko machine. Sashko machine. I think is it Baby Lock do it, and it literally stitches, but it looks like hand stitching. Abby used it on her version of the colourful. She actually stitched hers with that, and I wanted it, but they're over £2,000, and it only does that one stitch.
Oh, I need to see this.
And I couldn't warrant spending that money, not on the amount of work that I do, but the effect of it is beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
Oh, I like this idea. I'm going to have to go and hunt that machine out and have a look. That sounds amazing.
Have a look. It's often at the shows. It'll certainly be at Festival of Quilts.
I know. I'm so looking forward to Festival. Did you manage to go last year?
No, I didn't. At the moment, we're patronising Jeannie and I go everywhere together, as you might imagine. And we tend to go to the smaller Grosvenor shows. Festival of Quilts, my husband is seriously ill, so I have to be very careful in moving around in crowds and such like. So I avoided Festival last year, and of course the year before it was cancelled. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. But because I went and I was so skeptical, literally until the sort of Wednesday afternoon, debating do I, don't I, and it was the best thing I ever did. They were phenomenal. Whereas with the smaller shows, I'm actually more reluctant to go to the smaller shows because there's absolutely no checking of anything. So for me,
well, I found we went. I have a caravan at York, static caravan at York, so we can go away. And Jeannie has one in Skegness. So when Spalding shows on, we go and stay at her caravan. We might have a few drinks sometimes, but we go to the Spalding show. We're going to do the same this year, and I was very surprised. They were checking when we went in. You certainly had to wear your masks, and I think anybody with any responsibility now would not go if they had even a smidge of a thought that they had something. Well, you would hope so anyway.
Well, we'd hope, but 40% of people are completely asymptomatic. They haven't got a clue they've got it.
Well, there is that problem, but I mean, it is still possible to do the lateral flows, and yes, that's what they seem to be relying on. And
well, I think I'm lateral flowing every day because I'm always bumping into a customer, and I just think it's my responsibility.
We do them regularly. We always do it before the night before sewing group as well, to ensure. And I know some of them obsessively will do it in the morning as well to be doubly sure, because we have some quite vulnerable people in the group, so we have to be careful.
Unfortunately, two of my very best friends, not vulnerable in any way whatsoever, they both passed away last year from it, 44 years old, fit and healthy and really, really healthy. But one of them was a rugby player, so it's not normally, it's not always about the vulnerability. And both vaccinated too.
Well, right, very, very early on, there was a ICU nurse locally who I went to school with, who contracted it in the first range of it. And she now has long COVID and really struggles with it. She tried to go back to work, but had to give it up because it's basically ruined her life. But we didn't even have the vaccinations. We had nothing back then. I mean, I'm triple vaccinated. My husband is immunosuppressed, so he's had the full vaccinations.
Yeah, it's a sad
I know
state of affairs.
anti-vaxxers are, everybody's entitled to their own thoughts, but to me, I just will take anything that's going to protect, which is what you look for, isn't it?
I mean, but I do think that the festivals are definitely going to be really well sought after and looked after and supported. And I must say, with Festival last year, the way they did it was spectacular. I'm hoping there'd be more traders this time round, but they really did do an enormous. They literally could have done away with an entire hall with the amount of space they had around. It was brilliant.
Yeah, they said. I think I've not heard too much because I've worked with Anna and the team there on a couple of occasions, and she always donates tickets to give away. And I think, if I remember rightly, we've got a code both for that and also for the Crafters show in Bath and West. Quilts for UK Quilter members to be able to get, I think it's 10% discount they're offering. I should have checked, really.
Nothing wrong with a bit of discount. That's a few more quarters for your collection.
Well, this is one of the things that I try to do with the website as well. Not only support the brands, Macawa and Janome, we've had Patchwork Dreamer on there. We offer sponsorship and so on and so forth, I believe is looking at it at the moment, Mark Pickering. He's over in Hunstanton, but hot off the press, I believe he's moving a little bit closer. So watch out for him. But what I try to do each year is as much as possible is persuade people to give me prizes to be able to give away to my members, because that's brilliant advertising for them. And I think people are starting to catch on to this. We get 500 or 600 people entering the competitions, but I'm getting 2,000-3,000 people a week visiting the website, unique visits, because we follow the analytics. And that's a massive marketplace for everybody to shout about what they're doing. I'm looking for people now to do this. People come and they go, and I can't expect people to have the passion that I follow it with. But I just feel there's so much more the website can do for people such as yourself, John. And I know you patronise because you put your...
Well, I do my best, as you say, finding the time.
I know, but they're very popular, and it's so much easier for you to do it this way and then put it through the website, so people are actually watching it. I don't think they'll want to look at mine, but never mind.
I don't believe that true. But it's just an interesting dynamic, because I think podcasts are fabulous. You can listen to them in the car, you can do whatever. But I think it's different when you do it as a vlog, because people can actually see you and see your enthusiasm and see, because you're inviting people into your home. We're sitting in your conservatory, and it's a special thing being able to be a part of that.
And I think we do get a lot of visits. I mean, when they launch, we probably get hits of around 250 when they first launch.
Wonderful.
And then it'll move on. We don't usually give out figures per se, mainly because I don't have time. But if somebody comes to me and said, how many hits have I had, or if the competition's run, how many entries, we're very keen on GDPR and privacy statements, so we never release anybody's details at all. I've had 1 or 2 run-ins with people, but it would never, ever come from UK Quilters.
Well, for myself as well, I just feel that if anybody has given me their details, I delete everything, because it's just safer, it's just easier.
The website is locked down. We work with the MOD, so and we have our own servers, so we govern that very, very heavily, and the website sits on those servers. It's like Fort Knox to try and get into it. Has to be. But I wish I could find more time to sew. One of the things that I was going to show you, this last quilt, which is one that I've made for our local village in Bloom. So we last year the villagers put planters around the village, and they're always looking for funding. So this was one of the blocks from our quilters last year. So a girl who's part of the group came up with this idea and I loved it. So I made this to give to the Village in Bloom. This year they will be raffling it to raise funds.
That's wonderful, and I love that. Is that little snowman on the side? It's brilliant.
Yeah, and this, I don't know if you can see the quilting on that.
It's
but that wasn't my long arm. I made flowers.
They're gorgeous.
Because it's, what is it? Every time you go on, you still find a thread.
While you're asleep at night, they breed.
I think they do, yes. And we're making a log cabin that will be raffled for the Jubilee, for the Platinum Jubilee.
Lovely.
To go towards our village hall. We support the parish because the parish very kindly gave us a grant of £500 to go towards our charity makes. So
lovely.
We're kind of integrated into our village now. You can't beat village life.
No, you can't. I honestly, I never thought for a second moving out of London I'd be this happy in a little village, and I've never been happier.
Are you still in Tring?
Yep. We've moved a little bit outside to one of the surrounding villages, but I will hopefully, assuming rent prices don't push me out, I will do my very best to stay here.
Wasn't that Hugh Hefner's haunt at one point?
You are very well informed. So
I stayed at the Country House Hotel many years ago.
Did you?
Because it's haunted.
It is.
It's the only time. I'm not a believer. I've no real faith. I don't believe in life after or anything like that particularly. But when we stayed there, I don't know if you want to put this up or not. I'm not either way. But I was with a scriptwriter and we arrived quite late on and we went into the bar and we were talking to the guy and he said, oh, yeah, here's your room. And as we were going up to the room, of course, we were in the servants' quarters. We didn't see any of Hefner's reputed largest jacuzzi in England is housed there, so I was told. But as we went up the steps at the back, all the hackles on the back of my neck were prickling. I thought, that's really unusual. And I thought, there's something here. Went into my room and I thought, I don't like the atmosphere in here. Sat on the bed. And scriptwriter Darren rang me. He said, have you got a bath or a shower? I said, I've got a shower. He said, will you swap? He said, he said, I prefer to have a shower. I've got a bath. I thought, oh yeah, I'll swap. I had the best night's sleep ever. He never slept a wink and swears something was in the room with him all night. So that's always been a story that we tell. Really lovely place to stay, fantastic food.
Except not that room.
Yeah, no,
you only have a shower, stay in another room.
Exactly. But yeah, beautiful area. I mean, you're so lucky.
We're very lucky. So where we were before, because we sold our place in Tring now, it was on the foot of the Chiltern Hills. Oh. So my husband, just every time during lockdown, he was able to go out and do his walks through there. It's honestly, it's the most beautiful, beautiful place.
It is fabulous.
I will always miss that home. Always, always, always.
Oh, I should imagine you will. We live in the middle of North Lincolnshire in a small village, but very flat. There's nothing to sort of speak of. But out of my back window, I see straight over the River Trent. So
wonderful.
That's quite nice. We have Robin, my business partner, and I have a boat that we moor close by. It's a bit of an old tub, but it floats, and that's about it. So occasionally we go out for take the staff out for a bit of a sail down the river and back, or the canal, I should say, not river.
Sounds fantastic.
Yeah, well,
Sylvia, I can't thank you enough for your time today. It's been really lovely to get to know you because we've spoken so many times. It's just nice to actually properly speak with you. And I'm so, so grateful. And keep doing what you're doing with UK Quilters United. They're amazing.
Thank you.
Look after yourself. Catch up soon.
You too.